of
Wait,
loving.
you've just started.
Is it
Yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah, you're good.
the hope of loving? What keeps us alive? What allows us to endure? I think it is the hope of loving or being loved. I heard a fable once about the sun going around on a journey to find its source, and how the moon wept without her lover's warm gaze. We weep when light does not reach our hearts. We wither like fields if someone close does not rain their kindness upon us.
Wow.
That was beautiful, Marvin. Where did that come from?
Uh,
Hafiz. Oh,
Danny,
perfect.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful.
On my way back to you, I hope that's where I'm going. On my way back to you, that is not where I've been. My heart's been broken. Our lives are reckless, and still I sit here hoping. I'm on my way back to you. On my way back to you. I don't know what I'm doing. On my way back to you. The right turn somehow I'll make. If I could hold on to the hand of truth, surely I'd be knowing I'm on my way back to you. On my way back to you. I can see the path clear now. On my way back to you. Your love leads me there. If I could hold on to the hand of truth, surely I'd be knowing I'm on my way back to you. On my way back to you. I know that's where I'm going. On my way back to you. Your love leads me there.
Wow. It's such a beautiful song. I just love that
Thank
song.
you.
So beautiful.
That song was a gift from the universe. That was, well done. Stevens was going to Baba. I was writing it. It was the
Oh,
same time, the very end of his life. It was a trippy experience. Yeah.
hmm.
I have a concert on Tuesday. Oh my.
Yeah, you do. And the time is
And I'll have the
time.
dog in another place. The dog will not be in the room with me.
I
Nancy
guess,
doesn't know that
I guess that's your job, Marvin. Get him out of the way.
Get him out of there.
Okay, now Angela had requested some time. Is that right, Angela? Where are you? And then Al.
It
Well,
was
let's
me.
see.
Sorry, I should have
Oh, I'm
renamed
sorry.
myself.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Sorry about
Great.
that.
Mm.
I have a Hafez,
Mhm.
and this one is not found in any other book, only in the version of Hafiz I'm translating from.
And you had a name for that, right? Go, is it
Otzi.
Otzi? Yeah.
Let's see. It's Ghazal 89. My Saki is my Kizer. So those familiar with Meher Baba's explanations of Khizr, Baba said that he was a perfect master who takes human form in case of an spiritual emergency, such as giving God realization to somebody who doesn't have a master but is ripe, such as Saint Francis. So my Saki is my Khizr, and wine my water of life. How can I abstain from wine? It is impossible, impossible. Bitter wine from sweet lips puts the sugarcane to shame in sweetness. Like the breath of Christ, his breeze of grace revives a dead man of 100 years. Apart from the fiery water, meaning wine, my difficulties will not be resolved. See our daily bread from the court of love. We have no admittance other than with wine. Joyous be the soul of a rend who dies at the alley of a master. The fruit of your life in the world, O Hafez, is the pure wine, and the rest is rubbish.
Mm.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Farshi, what would we do without you? You've just,
What?
what would we do without you? The treasure you bestow. My word.
Uh-huh.
Amazing. Wow.
You had said that the Rend is kind of a what disheveled person. What was it?
It's an iconoclast. He's the kind of guy who doesn't really care about religious customs and rituals and what the priesthood prescribes in dishonesty. You know, say one thing, do another. So he marches to his heartstrummer, like a real Sufi or a spiritual advanced soul. I don't know.
Think of
There is no word for it in English, bottom line.
yeah. It's not just a beggar; it's a seeker kind of. Yeah, it's more than that.
Yes, it's Hafez. It's people like Hafez who, you know, basically just
Right.
walked away from it all and said, you know, we're done with religion. We have to go to the path of, you know, to the court of the Saki.
It reminds me of we read a story about Mohammed, Erico wrote about Mohammed the Must, who, when he got realized, he stood for days with his hands up in the air, and then he went to Mumbai to, what did he call it? Go seek out disreputable old gentlemen who were Reds. That's what he was talking about. Musts. He was seeking musts, but that was how he talked about it. Disreputable, I don't know, old men. That's all.
So did he wander off then? Off of this, when while he was in Mehrabad, he left Mehrabad?
Oh no, this was when he first got realized. First, is it realized? Is that right? When he said, and then I was a deva, and he stood in his room with his hands up for days.
3 weeks,
And-
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Now, okay, now it's coming back to me. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't mean to like, what? Oh, I felt like it was like more in the present rather than in the back.
It was his early must days before Baba. Yeah. Oh, wow. What an evening. Thank you, Michelle. I mean, Ferris Day and Michelle. That was wonderful. That was wonderful, Ferris Day.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Thursday, how long does it take you to translate? Will it take you several weeks? Will it take you a couple hours? Will it depend?
Well, Michelle, I'm getting better at it, and they're cranking out. So I think I'm doing about one or two a day sometimes, depending on the time, I give it. So yeah, they're coming out one after the other now.
Nice. When will we have the Farish Day? Azad.
Well, I have 89 done for sure, and another probably 40, 50 work in progress that I have to revise, and another 350 to go.
Maybe you live so long.
Or maybe
Wow.
even 400. Yeah, there's quite a few there, and I'm not going to give up. Baba willing.
Yeah.
I just keep going.
Wow.
So you're going to finish, you're not going to publish until you're done with 300 and some?
Ask Baba. I have no idea.
Okay, isn't it time soon?
I just realized I was on mute. I was trying to ask, when are we going to have the Ferris Day and Peter Booth Hafez Poetry Slam?
Wow.
There you go.
Hello, Jeffrey. You're a new face to me, as I'm sure you know these folks.
Yeah.
But
No, you're not new to me. I've seen you on the fly on the wall. I watch you all on. Usually, I do my watching of YouTube stuff at night. So I was just prodded to get here. I was, looking at it because I'm actually currently in Mehrabad.
Oh, you're one
Hi,
of
Jeff.
the duck folk. Ah. Oh, so you're stuck along with
No, I'm
your
not
cohort.
stuck. I'm very glad to be here.
Would you please
Barbara?
say hello to Hugh and Jeannie, from Betty, if you see them?
Who?
Hugh and Jeannie McDonald.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
Thank
I see them up on the hill occasionally. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad to be here. I was not planning to come back to America anyway. So
Anyway,
so
lucky you.
I know. It's been a real gift.
Oh, I think many of us feel that way too. This Zoom community is fabulous.
Oh, look at us having a wonderful art.
Mm.
No, I've been enjoying seeing all the work coming out of Myrtle Beach recently, like Daniel Stone's talk on obedience, and and the questions and answer sessions with Jeff Wolverton. It feels like the next generation of Baba lovers are coming of age. And of course, Peter Nordine's talks, you know. So I've been really enjoying a lot of stuff on YouTube, and also Mandalay Hall in the evenings, because it's, you know, it's very quiet here,
I bet it's quiet.
except for Barbara. Barbara's very, very present. And the dogs keep you on your toes.
Yeah, great to see you, Jeffrey.
Hi there, Jeff. Good to see you.
I read the other day.
Yeah.
I read the other day in Lord Mayhair, whenever two Jeffs are gathered in his name, he's there. So we got it covered.
I have a confession to make, Wolverton.
Yeah.
After you left, I really did not have as much initiative to make it up to the what I call the pre-arti huddle in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
the early
different. You know, trudge up to Americomedy in the mud sometimes, you know. It was still muddy in those days. Very few rain spells. I don't remember. It's all blur. I've been here now all week. You know, I just got my visa extended, so at the end of this extension will be a year.
beautiful. Yeah.
So,
Has
yeah, it's good to see you all.
You're welcome. Has everybody heard the news that Michael DaCosta has passed away? I think most
Yes.
have by now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah.
But he seemed to have passed in a nice way.
Yeah.
If what was being, I mean, it seemed like Baba was present with him and watching over him right at the end.
Yeah. Should I read it? It's a couple paragraphs or what he. Or has
Yes,
everybody-
please.
All
Why
right.
not?
Why not? Jai Baba, dear friends, our dear Michael DaCosta passed away on Friday, 4th September at 2 p.m. He had a heart attack whilst sitting in the sun on his balcony. Neighbors witnessed this and were with him in moments. Beloved Baba organized everything perfectly. It was quick and peaceful, and Michael was not alone. He slipped away to his beloved. Our sadness is profound, but we feel so happy to have had Michael as our companion and Baba for this lifetime. For over 40 years, Michael hosted weekly meetings at his home in Norwich. Michael's one-pointed love for Baba was a blessing to all of us who knew him and a gift from the beloved. We know the global Baba community will greatly miss him, his songs and poetry, his humor and his love for his beloved. Avatar Mayor Baba Ki Jai, Sue Chapman. So that's the message that went out.
Yeah, he really did bring a lot of people to Baba. I've heard that.
Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I need to go. So, Jeff, I need to turn this over to you.
Well, we got Alan somewhere. I can't stay very long because I'm actually working.
Oh,
Go
okay.
to the center and
Actually, Angela's here too, and
yeah. Oh, Angela.
we have enough. We're in good hands. Yeah.
It's weekend, Jeff. How can you work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm supposed to be on duty down there in case there are any intruders.
Where are you at the Gateway Cabin now, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm at the gateway. I came up
So when you say down there, you mean down at the
down in the center itself, in the inside.
center? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But we got Alan here, so we're reinforcement too.
Marvin, I just wanted to say your story today was phenomenal that you're told about your coming to Baba. Pardon? Marvin, your husband.
Sorry.
Told his Baba's story. Oh,
He did.
I
Yeah.
missed that. Oh,
That's like the India, the final thing. The beginning was a blind date, and he was in love with somebody. He thought he was.
It's a
Yeah.
funny story. It's silly.
Yeah, but you were in love, and you couldn't figure out who you were in love with.
Yeah.
That sounds sweet.
Lisa. But then he was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not in love with Lisa. Then who am I in love with?" He thought, then she took him to a Baba meeting on Silence Day.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I remember.
Interesting.
Well, the story today was a different one. It was the airplane. It was the travel to India. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not now that I've
It's
got you caught. No.
Now he had me crying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you. Thank you all. Jai Baba. See
Yeah,
you.
see you, Betty. Yep.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey Jeff, are you going to sleep early tonight?
Well, I'm probably not going to bed early, but I've got to go into the center. I'm on duty in the center rather than out here at the gateway.
Oh,
Yeah.
You
Wow.
do night duty there, or
What's that?
you do night duty in the
Yeah.
center?
Yeah.
Like watchman? I see. Is everything quiet on the center?
What's that?
Has everything been quiet on the center?
Very
I
quiet.
mean, very quiet.
The center is waiting for all
I
the
sleep
people.
on the boathouse.
What's that?
Yeah.
The
I'm
only
gonna sleep on
sound,
the boathouse. I'm gonna sleep on boathouse because the caretaker camera is gonna be too hot, right?
Oh no, I put a couple fans on me. Yeah.
Or you're gonna go to the library. It's a bad idea. Library has the AC.
Yeah.
the only sound you can hear is the roaring sound of the secret group of vagabond Baba lovers that are cutting a tunnel under 17.
Yeah. Coming up in the lagoon cabin. I'm kind
Okay.
of
Okay.
Tunneling, huh?
Yeah.
kind of very strange
Sounds
sounds
about
of
right.
excavation.
Full of love.
The things that love will not do.
Yeah. I think Bob is breaking his silence underneath the lagoon cabin. Flying
A
away.
slow roar with a little rumbling going on there.
So Alan, what's happening there?
Oh, I was reading this, actually just flipped right to it in Love Alone Prevails when Bob was at the center in 1956. And I just looked right at it and he said, I want you all to listen very carefully to what I say. It appears so simple, yet it is so very important for my lovers. To love me is to lose yourself in me, and to find me as your own self is to leave all your pleasures and pains to me. What does this mean? Someone answered, very simple, just leave everything to Baba. Everything, Baba emphasized, and remain happy. Leave your pleasures to me, leave your pains to me, and then you remain free. But it is a great thing, a difficult thing. Say you have 3 children, and all 3 of them die at one stroke. Naturally, what can you say? You must not only say, but feel, I leave all this to Baba. It is his wish. It is his pleasure. And then he went to say a translation from Kabir. Nothing that I have belongs to me. All that I have belongs to you. What will I lose if I surrender to you? What belongs to you?
Yeah.
What will I lose if I surrender to you? What belongs to you? I've heard different translations of that, but
Yeah.
you know.
He gave that to Mara. You know, this reminded me, then I've got to go, but you might find this interesting. he was reading from the book Love Alone Prevails. But what happened back in the latter 70s, I was staying in a cot on the back of the gateway in the office itself because Fred and Ella Winterfeld lived right across on the other side of the parking lot in a place called Pine Lodge. And Fred was in tremendous suffering because uh, he had pancreatic cancer, which is inoperable. And he, this is Fred Winterfeld, been with Baba since the 40s, late 40s. And he had tried all that he could do to get help from Baba to cure this pancreatic cancer. And he tried Laetrile, he tried all sorts of things. And I should say that um, he was an incredible person. He would, in the early morning, he had these two chairs. He would sit in one, and Baba would appear to him. This is, we're talking about through the 70s and everything. And he would bring up certain people in the nearby community, our community here, and what they were going through. And he would get advice from Baba what to convey to them. People didn't know this. I mean, I kind of learned this, but he would know things about people in a nearby community that there's no way it could be known. But he had, like I say, these interviews with Bob in the morning. But when he got this pancreatic cancer, he was in so much pain, and when he took morphine, he lost those morning interviews. So he lost that intimate companionship with Bob in the morning, and then he didn't feel that Baba was helping him, with this cancer, and he was very. It was a very difficult time for him to accept that Baba wasn't helping him. And I used to go after work in the center. I would go and I would massage his legs just vigorously to take his attention away from the pain for a while. And he didn't like taking morphine if he didn't have to because he would lose, it affected his mind and he would lose his intimacy with Baba. But anyway, so one day I came after work, and as I approached the door from the steps, I could hear Fred in there moaning. He was on, he and Ella would always sit on this sofa that Baba had sat on when he was in their house in New York. But I could hear him moaning, and I was reluctant to go in. But I decided to go ahead, and I opened the door, and Ella kind of indicated that, no, this is not a good day. But Fred sat up in the chair, and he put his hand up, and he said, "Love alone prevails." And I knew just what he was saying. This pain and he came to this realization, this pain that I am suffering is Baba's love. Don't say that this is not his love. And I kind of turned around to go out, and he held his hand up again. He said, "Again I say, love alone prevails." So he came to that understanding that Baba wasn't over here and he's over there. This pain and suffering was Baba and his love. But anyway, so after work, I went over to Kitty's. She asked me how Fred and Ella were doing, and I related what I just did to you. And so Kitty at that time was writing her autobiography of her life with Baba. And so she and she hadn't got a title for that book. And so Love Alone Prevails became the title of her book, which is really a tribute to Fred and what he, the conclusion that he came to, that love alone prevails.
He was the mainstay of the New York group for a while, wasn't he, Fred?
Yeah, you know, it's funny,
Yeah.
Jeffrey, I don't know if it's my computer or your recording. I have a hard time hearing you. It gets blared. Yeah.
Is this any better?
That might be better.
Is this
Yeah.
It helps
Okay.
to be closer to your mic.
Right. Yeah, my mic works sometimes good, sometimes not. Anyway, I just remember Fred being a real mainstay of the New York group, and I've heard. And that is quite a story. You know where that title comes from.
You know,
Thank
I
you.
couldn't quite hear you there. Maybe the other people can translate for me.
He said he understood that Fred was a mainstay of the New York Baba group, and he liked your story about how that title came about.
Yeah. Yeah, after Kitty and Elizabeth and Narina came down here, and they had started, I think they were the ones that started the Monday night group in New York back in the 40s. And so someone to head up the group was needed. And a number of names were submitted to Baba, but Baba said he wanted a couple. And eventually, Fred and Ella's name was submitted to them. They had not met Baba, but he said that's the couple. That's the ones he wanted, and they were ideal for all the young people. They were so present. They didn't have any children, but boy, they were like Kitty, just much beloved. But I'll tell you one last story, then I got to go. This is Fred. Fred fought World War I on the side of the Germans and World War II on the side of the Allies. But because he was German, he couldn't be stationed on the Atlantic theater. He was stationed in the Pacific, and uh, he was stationed on New Guinea. So one day, and you know, he didn't really have much to do. One day, he and this Australian guy went for a walk just to kind of explore the country, the water along the ocean. And they walked and walked and walked and everything. And at one point, they kind of stopped, and out of this forest came these very menacing natives, and they would take a step. They had them surrounded. They were on the beach, and they would take a step, you know, and then they'd move another step, and they were closing in on them with this menacing look. I mean, and they didn't have any gun. They didn't bring any weapons with them. So they are, you know, their life is imperiled, you might say. And so they got closer. When they got about 10 feet away, excuse me, when they got about 10 feet away, this Australian guy took out his false teeth and started going like this. Very slowly, they went back into the forest. And it saved their lives.
Wow.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have had Fred Winterfeld. Can you imagine how inspiring to take these things off, you know, false teeth, and then just. So,
That was great.
so thanks for that.
Hey, Jeff, before you go, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Was Billy Eaton from New York group?
What's that?
Billy Eaton. Was
Yeah.
she from New York group?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
I'll tell you a beautiful story about Billy Eaton. Billy Eaton, I mean, just a short one. She had this dog. It was very endearing. And whenever she would come home, she had a fourth floor walk up. But the dog would come down the hallway, and it would just kind of tilt its head in such a beautiful way, so endearing way, and that's how her special dog would greet her. And so then in 1956, Baba, came to New York, and she had an appointment with Baba, and she was nervous about meeting Baba. She didn't have any partner, and she was going to go in and meet him, and so she was a little apprehensive. But her time came, for an interview, and so her name was called, and she went in there, and Baba had turned his head just like her dog, and she knew Baba knew Baba knew her completely. Same look. No, it's true. It's beautiful. That's the way Baba is.
So sweet. Oh
Yeah.
my.
It's true. This story is true, Jeff. It's really
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, you can read her book. I don't know but she would come and share her stories. She was very good.
Yeah.
But there's a book that she,
Yeah, I met her in New York
yeah,
when she was there. She used to come to the meetings.
yeah.
The
Love So Amazing or something like that.
Love
Yep,
so
I love so amazing.
Yeah, it's in there.
She was
Delightful.
She was in Chicago for a couple months, I think it was.
Yeah.
What happened was she was at
Wait 1 second. I've got to a call of nature, but I'll put a pause on that.
How are you, Lenita?
I'm good. I'm fine, Michelle. How are you?
Good.
How's Aaron?
He's very much a teenager. He's
Is
different.
he's doing Zoom classes in the house at home?
Not
Not
until
yet.
Tuesday. Yeah, Google Classroom.
We'll see.
Yeah, all
He's
the
very arrogant.
Chicago public schools.
question to ask you.
Yeah.
What's the real story about this song?
That song?
The one you said it's Kavanaugh,
Patty Kavanaugh.
Patty Kavanaugh for Ruth Apple.
Yeah.
So were they in love? What's the story?
No. They came down. No. He wrote a Baba song for her. She came down with this friend of hers to the center. She only came once, but she wrote that song with Ruth. It wasn't that. Ruth in mind. Ruth's life with Baba in mind. You might-
Uh-huh.
I should have probably. I wasn't even thinking of that. Yeah, with Ruth's life with Baba in mind, she wrote it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Beautiful.
I got one last thing that I just happened to think of because you might not run across it.
You know you'd rather be with us than go inside.
I know, yeah, it's just great. This is the kind of thinking that's required when you're around Baba. There was Baba went into seclusion on a place called Fallen Flue in Switzerland.
Mhm.
And it was up in the mountainous area. It was actually a public place where you had these hiking trails. So Baba decided he wanted to go into seclusion up there, and he had posted, Baba's one location and on a cliffside, and they posted people to keep anybody from intruding in the space. They were about 50 feet, 50 yards away from Baba. So Walter Mertens, Eddie Mertens' husband, he's got the lower part of of his duty. He's at the lower part, and lo and behold, this couple of hikers come, and they're heading over right to where Baba is, and he has to stop them. So what does he do? He says, they're conducting high voltage experiments up there. Don't go. Oh, yeah.
True, actually, you know
What
what's
a
really
great,
true?
what a great line, though. What a great, I mean, that's an inspired line. They're conducting high voltage experiments up there.
And he wasn't even lying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ingenious. You got to be that clever. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, now you have a problem.
What's that?
Ganesh is here.
Oh, yeah. I'm,
Oh, Ganesh.
I know. I'm supposed to be working about a half a mile from here.
Yeah, there's nobody at the center. What are you gonna do there by yourself at the cabin? There's nobody to take care of. There's nothing.
Well, I mean, if there's any intruder that comes on, I'm supposed to be telling them.
Gotta watch out for that tunnel.
Bear's staying. Bear's
What are
gonna,
you gonna do? You get a gun? You got a gun there?
he's gonna sneak in,
Yeah.
go in the campground.
What
They're
do
gonna-
they have to,
they're gonna run
what do
away.
they give you there for protection? You know, baseball bats or,
Yeah.
you know, maybe some old cricket
What's
bats?
his name?
Bob's
Bob's
name.
name will do. That will do.
So Ganesh, do you guys know Ganesh?
I
here?
don't know why Farishta, you called
Yeah.
me a
Hi,
problem.
Ganesh.
Understand.
I can tell Ganesh didn't have to work today. You didn't have to work, right?
Yes, it's a Sunday morning. It's nice here. Sunday morning, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Sunday morning.
He doesn't have
Yeah,
that.
hi,
He doesn't have
Jeffrey.
that glaze over his eyes.
Yeah, he doesn't have that same kind of like overworked expression. The corporate world.
I'm technically still at work.
You are.
Yeah, but I'm gonna take a break.
Yeah.
What do you do from home?
Home? Alan?
What was that?
What do you do from home?
I'm a facilities coordinator at a real estate company.
Interesting.
So I'm basically, my headquarters is this very room that you see, and make a lot of calls and a lot of scheduling, a lot of coordination. But
Interesting.
yeah, it's the work never ends.
I've been enjoying your questions and answer session with Jeff Wolverton.
Yeah, I mean, these
YouTube.
guys are, they remind me of the days when we used to be around the mandala asking them questions and drawing out stories and everything. That same kind of fervor.
Mhm.
We'd stay, just a kind of a typical day when we, early years going to India. You'd wake up at, 5 o'clock. You'd go out to Mehrabad and clean the tomb, then be there for morning arti, a bike, and then you bike into town, get a bite to eat for breakfast, then you go out to Mehrabad. You'd hang out at Mehrabad until about 6 o'clock. You'd bike all the way through town, all the way out for evening arti. We'd be there for evening arti, then we'd go back into town and have dinner, and then we'd go over to Adi's office and hang out there till after midnight. Just hanging out, and you could ask him anything under the world, under the sun.
Wow.
And then we'd go the next morning. We just do the whole thing. We did it for 4 months. I mean, we were bringing our begging bowls. Anybody that had something about Baba to share, we were there.
I'm sure there was a lot of crazy questions asked to all of them.
What's that?
Those late nights, I'm sure there was a lot of very, very weird introspective questions that are probably never going to be recorded, but
I know. Yeah, he was.
It's all out there, though. One of my favorite lines from Adi heard recently is, the mind is like a barking dog.
Yeah.
And sometimes that dog has to be fed, then it gets quiet.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, most of the time you got to give it a kick, but sometimes you got to feed it. That was his life.
You just gotta feed it, and it gets quiet.
Or he'd say, the mind is the watchdog of the heart.
That's a good one.
And
That's a good one.
he had a lot of great sayings.
I wish we were in your generation. We could.
And did you bring your recorder along when you went to those?
No, it all went into thin air. We just, no one had any recording equipment. You were so into the moment you didn't even think of posterity, unfortunately.
Well, Peter Nordine told me one story where he was standing by Baba, and Glory Shaw passed by. He goes, Artie, come here. And Glory Shaw motioned to him, and Baba just told him, stay here. And the message was one master only. Stay with me. Don't go, be close to me. Don't get distracted. And who knows if they were working together on that, the way masters work, you know what I'm saying? But that was quite powerful.
Did you say, who was the person you said?
Glory Shah is the Sufi whose tomb, the Sufi master whose tomb is right in front of Lower Mehrabad NPC office. He was the one that wanted to be buried there because he knew a great saint would be coming here.
Oh, that's
and
the one.
that was Baba.
Yeah,
That's Baba.
Yeah.
And there's a whole story of him also working as a cook in Queen Victoria's kitchen. There's a lot of stories about him. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well,
So
when all
Jeff,
this
let me
clears up, I
ask
got to
you,
get there.
I think Jeff had something else he was saying.
That's how we lure you in. That's how we lure you in, Alan. Bob was waiting for you.
So Jeff, you have to rake your brain and resurrect some of those stories in Adi's room.
Is he still here? Or did he
Here's
wander off?
I've shared this one before, but
There you go.
they were traveling with Baba one time, Baba and the men Mandali, and they came into one of the states of or regions of India where they didn't drink tea. They drank coffee, and Baba was off somewhere, and these people and the Mandali were dying for tea, and so they prevailed upon this farmer if he would just kind of heat up and bring them some tea. They always came with supplies, and so the guy didn't know how to make tea. It was just like new to him. It's like, and and he was just kind of a farmer and everything. So eventually he came over with the tea, and they didn't get Bob's permission on this. They would they would try to do these things and see if they, 'cause Baba kind of kept them on a very lean diet and everything, but they had kind of thought they were, that this was kind of within the restrictions of Baba. So anyway, the guy comes with this bucket, and they have their cups, and what the guy did is he boiled the tea and poured off the water and brought the tea leaves, just like it was spinach or something, and so they held out their cups, and they had to fill their cups, and they had to, just to be polite, they had to eat the leaf tea, and the guy the guy added insult to injury. He said, "You people like this stuff?" So they were stuck. They thought they got they thought they were going to have like a nice treat out in the middle of nowhere. And,
Baba.
yeah.
Jeff, I heard this story in a, I know similar, it's a similar story, not the same story, but it was a similar story wherein there is this little village near Amirpur, and they knew that Baba likes to have tea. So they heard from, so they write a letter to Erich saying that how to prepare tea because they don't know what is tea and how to prepare it. And when Erich gives them, sends them the, like the way you have to prepare a tea with all the instructions, they prepare it. And then in the end, they throw off the tea and they just keep that stuff the stuff that comes out of the tea leaves, and
Yeah.
that they eat it as prasad, and because that's what came as the instruction. So and they write to Rich saying that it was something we couldn't taste it good, it wasn't tasting good and all that. So they throw off the entire tea and just keep that residual the leaf stuff, and that is what they eat as prasad.
Yeah.
And they write to Rich, and Rich says then back, you should actually the one that you the liquid that got created, that is the one we should have it. So
Yeah.
this happened near a village near Amirpur during
Yeah.
Baba's time.
They tried all sorts of, things. No, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Jeff, that's like the story you told about this, what is it, the one very long cigarette? It was like,
oh yeah,
instead of,
Dr. Ghani.
yeah, instead of like, because they could only have one cigarette a day.
Dr. Ghani, Baba's childhood buddy.
Oh, right.
You all know that.
He was a wily one.
Reduce them just to one cigarette and one cup of tea a day. And he got away with it for a number of times, but finally, I think someone squealed on him. He's not really obeying you there, Baba. But he went out and had somebody roll a real long cigarette, and so that he would smoke a bit of this long cigarette, basically. And then he had the cup that he had was a huge cup with a handle on it, which he sipped on.
A bucket.
Yeah.
And Jeff, he was also the one who was lazy enough not to have a bath every day. And then in the mornings, when he was asked to take a bath, he would just go into the bathroom and put water on the walls and then make some noise.
Right. Right. That was when that was in the Manzilamine when they were Baba had to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to start their day off with a cold bath. It was very cold. You couldn't stand the cold water.
Yeah.
And I think there were a couple of guys that did that. My feeling was that he got away with a lot of stuff because he knew Baba from his childhood days when they were schoolmates.
Yeah.
And when he first showed up, and I think it was when Baba was still meeting in Pune, and he was like kidding around, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. And then when Baba left the room, he's like, the other, early disciples were chastising him, saying, you can't say that to him. He's a kutub. He had no idea that Baba had been transformed. To him, he was just his childhood friend. I hope you got all that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was so kind of casual about Baba, and everybody else was very reverent.
Right. It was shocking. But Baba was very patient with him, too.
Adi told us that Dr. Ghani was by far the laziest man he had ever met. He didn't do anything. He would just, when all the other Mandali were working around carrying out things, he would just sit there with Baba talking. He just, and he would take a bath only once a week. And he had this 3-piece suit, which he'd fall asleep in it. And then in the morning, he kind of, straighten it out and, kind of get the wrinkles out of it and start his day. Didn't even want to waste time.
Did he not even take off his shoes?
Oh, did he leave those on too? Yeah. You got the streamlined life. Yeah.
So what is it? The smarter you are, the lazier you become? Is that what it is?
Ganesh tried that for 3 weeks and he almost got fired.
Yeah.
So,
The
Jeff, one
corporate
thing.
world didn't go for that.
Kind of stinky.
Yeah.
A little.
Jeff,
stinky.
Jeff, you must be knowing some stories that will never come in print, right? Hanging around with the Mandali, surely you might have heard some stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one that you'll never hear. But
Yes,
I heard
please.
from Margaret Krask. It's very interesting. It never got into print, and there may be, I don't know if it really, she didn't include it in her book at all. But she was there with the women Mandali up on the hill in the late 30s into the 40s, and Hitler in Europe was taking over one country after another, Poland and Austria and everything like that, and bombarding London. And there were a number of Western women who were there, like Kitty. Kitty wanted to, kind of felt she should go to London, during all of this, and be there with her parents and everything like that, because this horrible stuff was going on. But anyway, the women were very concerned, especially those who were, from Europe and living in Europe. And so Baba would come up the hill in the afternoon, and he would kind of find out what they were talking about, and they were talking about this horrible, Hitler and taking over, the world, and no one was stopping him, and they expressed their concerns. And I think the last comment was, how can such a evil man get away with this? And Baba spelled out on his alphabet board, did you ever think that he might be suffering from an excess of good?
Wow.
Did you ever consider that he might be suffering from an excess of good? And the way I took that is, in his past life he might have been way too good, and instead of swinging from good to love, he swung all the way over to horrible evil. But does that make any sense? Did you ever consider that he might be suffering from an excess of good? So good is
So
not
that's how it
necessarily,
works?
huh?
That's how it works. If you're too good, then in the next life you're
You
gonna
can,
be
you
bad,
can.
bad, bad.
It can happen. If you go to the extreme, then you swing, the pendulum swings to the opposite extreme. So, I mean, normally you kind of swing from good to love. Good, good and bad are kind of in a realm of sanskars, and love is beyond sanskars or impressions.
Right.
So he didn't swing that way. He swung way over the other extreme.
But then again, I mean, it was part of Baba's plan to do what what transpired.
Well, I always think it's Baba's doing the best he can with a bad thing. The best he could do with a bad situation. It's not, in other words, because Baba was asked, why don't you stop this war? And Baba said, but the people want it. So he has to just orchestrate it in the way that's best for everyone. As horrendous.
What he said is people wanted the war.
What's that?
Baba said that people wanted the war.
Yeah.
Not in the normal sense that we understand want to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like that those sanskaras have to come out. They are the deep within, and they had to express themselves. The deep anger, hate, rage that was built in people, that has to come out. Something like that, I understand.
Yeah. If it can't be nullified, I mean, if people would give all of those things to Baba, they could be relieved of it, but they don't give it to Baba, so then you got to fight it out. It's like there. I mean, the way I think of it is, if you turn to love, it's like taking the express train through creation. If you if you just kind of go with your karma, it's like taking the local train. You're still getting to the destination, but it's much slower.
And harder.
You have to stop at every village, town, city.
Can
Uh,
I
there's a
share a story
pathway.
that
Huh?
reminded me of that? Can I share a story that I was
Yeah.
reminded when you were talking about sort of like the unfathomable part of this this realm of conversation. This is from The Real Treasure 2, Rest
Oh,
in.
yeah, those are great.
Yeah. So this one's called Baba Knows Best. On many occasions, Baba lovers who have been in Baba's contact for a long time, including some of those who even had Baba's physical darshan, were tested and tried through overwhelming misfortunes. Some of these tragedies were so immensely great that one's heart reached out and felt empathy for the people involved. Some of them would bravely accept it, while others felt confused, even though their faith and love for Baba remained intact. On one occasion, a Baba lover couple were seated with Erich along with their child. The child was sweet looking, but badly handicapped. The couple were fortunate to have had Baba's darshan. Erich, as usual, inquired about everyone's health in the family, and finally, pointing to the child, asked how the child was progressing. The couple informed Erich about the progress of the child since they had last visited Merzad. The trials and tribulations were many, and as they were narrating it, you could feel the pain in their hearts. We were all listening silently. After narrating everything, the husband asked Erich, after giving our all to Baba, after so many years of just living for him, I can never understand why Baba puts my child through so much suffering. Erich kept quiet for a very long time. It was as if through the silence, he was feeling the couple's pain. Then he turned to the couple and spoke very forcefully. Know for sure that he has nothing but the very best interest of the soul when he decided to give that suffering. Have no doubt whatsoever in your mind. Nothing, nothing but the very best he has in mind for that soul. We were all very quiet when Erich finished. The power and authority with which he said this was so overwhelming that nothing more was needed to be said on the subject.
Beautiful.
Jai
Yeah.
Baba.
Yeah.
But that sort of just really helped me, like, in terms of when I read that, I was like, man, it's just know for sure that he has nothing but the very best interest of the soul when he decided to give that suffering. Have no doubt whatsoever in your mind, nothing but the very best he has in mind for that soul.
Yeah.
It's just
What,
unfathomable.
wow. What volume is that story in, please?
Yeah, this is The
What
Real
volume?
Treasure, Volume 2, and it's
Volume
page
2, okay.
23.
Okay. Yeah, I
There's a
could read
line.
those.
There's a line I heard in my last trip or the trip before. I don't know if it's exactly, but Baba said, I created everything. No, I created the creation, and I created everything with such precision that nothing needs to be added. So it's like a perfect, we're going to get there. It's all beautifully worked out. But Baba's grace is above the law of karma. So if you tune into that, you move a lot faster through creation. You rise above it, all of it much faster. Definitely. Even if you live in New Jersey, I mean,
What's wrong with New Jersey?
I have
Prakash is here.
Particularly close to
I have
noon, right?
There's similar story where during Baba's time that this happened. I mean, I guess it's in Lord Meher that Baba goes to Amirpur, I guess it's Amirpur, and there is this couple and their son. The child was good, everything good, but he was blind. And Baba looks at the child and says that even looking at him, even I got an urge to give him sight. But it is good that, but then it was good that I kept him blind and I didn't go with that urge, because that is going to be beneficial for him.
Yeah.
So it is going to be something like spiritually beneficial if he goes through this blindness. And Baba says that. And Baba himself said before that, even looking at the child, I had the urge to give him the sight.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Accept your lot, as Baba would say.
There's something so beautiful about that, the personal, how personal that feels to me. And he says, you know, that he had the urge to, that even he had the urge to give the child sight. That just, it's not, it just takes it out of that void place of, like, you know, the mental sphere where, you know, we can talk about this stuff and be like, well, it's just the void. And then, you know, but it's actually, geez.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah, that's beautiful.
Very, very personal, much more than we would imagine.
Yeah. My goodness. Hey, Jeff,
Well,
when you go to go out there, do you go near the Baba's house?
Well, earlier I did, but
okay.
now I'm there by the original kitchen, in the night watchman cabin.
Whenever you go to Baba's house, can you sit on that bench that's outside his house?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do it until next Saturday.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'll go
Whenever,
in.
if you remember, it's all right.
That's Baba sat right near. I had put a kind of a stump where Baba had sat on the ground.
Oh, nice.
Everybody kind of gathered on the edge of the bluff around him, just in a very relaxed way in 1956.
Is that where Darwin was? Darwin was taking photos. He was taking those 3D photos.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see those.
They are in the library.
Oh, though that 3D kind of viewer?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know who even took those, but I don't know if that bench is there in those photos. I mean, I don't recall, but
I think it might have been a chair at the time.
Oh yeah, that's a different place.
Oh, it's a different place.
Yeah.
It's like right when you walk in, and then it's to your left.
Oh, that place. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Oh,
Yeah.
good. Good that you told me that. I was going to go to the wrong bench. Oh wow, I really felt great over here. Baba sat there too, near where that bench is. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go and you know, Ganesh is.
Good night, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
So we
See you
want
guys.
so
Yeah.
Jeff,
Jai Baba.
more of the stories
Jai
which
Baba.
won't be
Jeff.
coming in print. That's what you
Yeah.
should
Well,
share.
you don't leave now. You guys
Yeah.
stay on. You know, between Alan and Ganesh, you
No,
know,
I'm falling asleep.
you got enough to keep things in Prakash up there. Yeah. Anyway, see you guys.
You gotta hook up.
See you.
Bye, Baba, Jeff.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba. Hey, Mer Baba, Jeff.
Oh,
Jai Baba.
he's already gone.
Yeah, man. When he goes fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like lightning.
So he's trying to ask him when he sees himself back. And
Don't
Jeff-
ask him that.
Don't ask him that. He doesn't like that.
No, we just, you know, you got to take your chances, man. And you just got to play that roulette and see what happens.
Wait, what was the question you were going to ask? I didn't get.
Okay.
You can't
I
calculate
get
the
it.
spiritual path.
I get it. Okay, I get it. It's all Baba's whim.
Okay. Here
Baba's whim.
is, yeah. So here is one nice quote as we were actually discussing about Hitler, something like the world will always stay in balance, something that was there that Shams has said, Shams, the perfect master who gave realization to Rumi. I would like to read that quote. Can I read that?
Yes, please.
Sure.
While the parts change, the whole always remains the same. For every thief who departs this world, a new one is born. And every decent person who passes away is replaced by a new one. In this way, not only does nothing remain same, but also nothing ever really changes. Shams Tabrizi.
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
everything is
Oh,
going to
so
be
much
balanced.
for, so
Oh
much
my
for,
God.
utopia around here.
Mm.
Oh man.
It's almost like one of the things we learned in science, right? The law of conservation of energy. I mean, energy just changes from one form to another, but the total remains the same.
Wait, what about when Baba talks about the, you know, like, I don't know, the very, very small period of time when it's like the golden age, you know, like where most people are.
Spring tide of creation.
Yeah. What about those times? Is it, I mean,
Again, this is my intuitive response. I have no idea, but it seems to me like during those times, sanskaras are fairly dormant. And it's only during the Kali Yuga that the sanskaras are churned up at a, you know, the effort, small effort creates much greater return.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Whereas
is.
there, because life is so good and everyone's so harmonious with each other, those pesky sanskaras remains dormant. I mean, if the higher ages were the time we got realized, we would have been there a long time ago. But you know, it's cyclical and it comes and goes for 8,400,000 lives. So, yeah.
So it's like almost like how I was just thinking, like, oh man, it's already about to be coming like the winter time or fall, winter. Like, what the heck? I feel like summer just kind of is gone. Like it was just a small little. It's just like we get majority is like cold winter time where I'm at. I don't know, but I was thinking maybe that's how the springtide is like. Like, why do we get such a small period? I mean, it's you know, obviously because I'm in my form right now. I'm thinking of it from a personal point of view. Like, why does it have to be like that? But
You
it's
mean
just,
Baba's Advent?
no, it's a peculiar thing that like we have to go through cycles and cycles, and then we get like when we finally get to the springtide, it's such a short period of physical time. It isn't something like 400 to 700 years or something. I forgot the exact what Baba said about it, but it feels like, from what I remember, it's a small period of time compared to the larger amount of time that we're spending in, like, you know, whatever else.
Well, let me understand your question. The Advent happens every 700 to 1400 years, always and forever. Regardless of the cycle, whether it's a higher age or lower age or Kali Yuga or not.
I see.
He comes. So he comes every 700 to 1400 years, perpetually, always.
Right. So he comes, but then I'm talking about like for humanity when we're in that time frame where there's more people that are, I don't know how to say it except springtide, like the people are more loving and there's less.
Okay, well, I wouldn't call
suffering.
that springtide.
Okay, what is the right term then? That when people are more loving, there's more love in the world in general, physically, in this duality. What is that?
Some call it Satya, the higher ages, the age of truth.
The age of truth.
Yeah.
Right. And is that period a shorter period amount of time in like consideration to all the other time frame where we have to suffer and be in like, I don't know if I just read that wrong or if I just don't remember right.
Just to what I
Where do you read
recollect,
that?
sorry,
Yeah.
Prakash.
No, just wondering where Alan read that.
Okay, here
No.
is what I recollect. Is that what the thing is that Baba said after this avatar there will be a time when maybe next avatar when he comes there will be universal brotherhood and love will prevail and the new humanity and all that he said, and he said that will only be for some time, and after that again since the creation has to move on, but again then it will be back to where again selfishness will
Right.
surface.
That's the
So
thing I'm talking about.
yeah, so he did say that there will be, and probably he said for experiencing that brotherhood and that love, he will again take an avatar. That's what I recollect reading,
Yeah.
and that will be a short period of time.
It's a short period of time. So I'm wondering what the heck? Like why?
If you read, I mean, I don't think Baba really went into it too much, but if you read the Raja Yoga or the Vedantic or whatever, you know, Prakash, you might be more familiar, and Ganesh, there's like the ascending and descending. So the two, the highest and the lowest times are the shortest, but the ascending and descending are the longest.
Oh,
So
that
it's
makes more
really
sense to me.
quite logical if that's a true thing. And Baba was very generous, you know, he didn't want to tell us how very long it is.
I
So,
guess it's something I could even ask Ward Parks about. I'm sure he connects the framework of all these different, you know, world. What do you call them? Like cosmologies.
yeah, he's probably quite.
He's quite well read, so he knows, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, my background was Raja Yoga and Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings, and he went into great details, as well as Sri Yukteswar. But, you know, Baba said later on that, you know, they were like fifth and sixth planers so they may have had a limited view. I don't know.
No, but that makes a lot of sense. When you said it, it just like kind of clicked. It turned off the question, the urge to know like why in my mind. It was like somebody fed that dog, you know, some food, and I was like, oh, it makes more sense when you showed this. You're like the sides.
Happy to have some treats for your puppy.
Okay. The one that you are mentioning, I found that message.
Wow,
Alan.
nice.
So here it is. Should I read it out?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So this is from the final declaration. When I come again after 700 years, the evolution of consciousness will have reached such an apex that materialistic tendencies will be automatically transmuted into spiritual longing, and a feeling of equality in spiritual brotherhood will prevail. This means that opulence and poverty, literacy and illiteracy, jealousy and hatred, which are in evidence today in their full measure, will then be dissolved through the feelings of oneness of all men. Prosperity and happiness will then be at their zenith. This does not mean that oneness in illusion shall remain so eternally. That is because all this, that is illusion and the consciousness of oneness as well as manyness, as well as of manyness in illusion, is part of the process of evolution. The time is bound to reoccur when there will be again the same beginning, growth, and culmination of the heights of manyness and oneness in illusion. My next statement after I drop this body will be after 700 years, and that will mark the end and the beginning of a cycle of cycles. All cycles of time and illusion end and begin after 700 to 1400 years. And there have been and will be millions and billions of such cycles in a cycle of cycles. Thus, there is no end to illusion, which always remains illusion. This
There we
is
go.
from the final declaration.
Yep.
So he said that spiritual equality and spiritual brotherhood will prevail for some time.
For some time.
Yeah.
And that
No,
goes
but
then
so-
that goes into the worlds that are created and
It is also
destroyed as
the
well.
feelings of oneness of all men.
So-
Prosperity and happiness will be at their zenith.
Yep.
And this will only be for certain time.
So
Yep.
if Baba has to come back again after 700 years in with whatever name and form, so things again necessitate his coming, which apparently means that things will again sort of head in the wrong direction, right? Because the avatar comes only when there is a need for humanity to seek a right direction. So this period you're talking about should probably finish before the next form comes back.
The first sentence says, when I come again after 700 years, the evolution of consciousness will have reached such an apex that materialistic tendencies will be automatically transmuted into spiritual longing, and the feeling of equality in spiritual brotherhood will prevail. That means next time when he comes, there will be this brotherhood and everything will be dissolved in love. So I think he mentioned that he will come as an avatar to see this amidst all the good stuff like love prevailing, brotherhood prevailing, and all that. And that would only be for this maybe next just when
I guess we'll be better off than now, I guess, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
see that's what I had in my mind when I heard that he was gonna come during a time when it's like there's just way more peace on earth than there is now, for example. I feel like we're sort of still going up, up, up to the climax point, and then it's gonna be like ding, and then we're gonna be living in that time frame for a short period of time. But
yes, that's going to be a short period. And because he said this is all illusion and things have to move on. Because if everything is good, then we are all stuck in the same place and there's no spiritual progress, I understand.
good
So
gracious.
Because if everything goes,
But it's a good thing our lifespans are short enough and we don't remember anything.
Yeah, if we're lucky. Otherwise, we have those flashes.
Back in the day, they used to live 1,000 years, you know?
Wait, what? Who?
They did. They lived a lot longer, way back in the day. Maybe it was during those high ages, you know, who knows? They just lived well. They were healthy in mind, spirit, body. And
Well, then does that what that brings me to is like is the Om point, is that a physical location on the earth, and is the Om point always where humans are, like the humans that come to evolve their consciousness, do they always come to that place even if it's not necessarily this earth? Like right now this earth is probably earth 7 billion, but like are we always moving from one place to another in spatial, in the physical plane of reality? Is there always like a place that becomes earth where the humans, that does the Om point change?
I think, you know, I think it must be the general locale of the universe or whatever, the center of where things started. But at the same time, that is such a far-fetched esoteric concept of reality, you know. But why is this particular locale or this particular earth such a you know, stomping ground for the avatar?
Right. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I mean, I asked, you know, kind of a similar question of Bao one time, and I said, you know, what is up with
with the, you know, is God like indefinitely creating new bubbles, i.e. new souls? You know, indefinitely? Like, is there like this endless supply of souls that he comes up with? And, you know, because by the time the soul of Alan gets realized, there's still a stone under Alan's feet.
It's 12 o'clock.
That's going to take another gazillion eons to get to Alan's stage. And when that stone is realized, then there will be another stone, and this just goes on forever.
Yeah.
And are these new stones, new souls? You know, like, it's unfathomable. So my mind was going like that. You know, it was early in my Baba career. And Babaji just kind of stopped everything, stopped the conversation, and paused for a while. And then he looked at me and he said, "The Om point is within you."
Wow.
Hmm.
That shut me up quick.
The Om point is within you.
Yeah.
You know, somewhere Baba said that, right? It's not as if you're in cosmos, and something like cosmos is in you.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it makes sense what Bhavji said. So to me, obviously, like we all know, it's all in imagination, and otherwise, I just can't imagine that such a huge creation can possibly exist. And again, I could be totally off here. To me, I can firmly believe it can only exist in imagination, and it's constantly expanding. There seems to be no end. And I think it's possibly driven by all the thoughts that we have and all the creation that we do in our minds and so on and so forth. It's just unbelievable.
Mm.
We may be representing some point in the cosmos somewhere, all that we create in our minds, you know, all the imagination that we have and everything. I mean, just keeps on going. Obviously, we are part of the universal mind, and whatever we think has to go into that universal mind, and that has to, you know, I don't know. I'm just talking.
Well, you know, on that point,
head.
I was in Australia, and Ward Parks gave a talk, and he was talking about infinite intelligence and God speaks and all these other things that he was kind of connecting and webbing together. And he said something that stuck with me, that I obviously don't understand it, but he said to us, this is something that's kind of like, because he's like deeply like reading this stuff, like he loves to read encyclopedias of, he's just going in and like he's in and out every single day. I would just see him like studying this stuff when I was there, and so he's saying when you get into it, there's this point where Baba's talking about the physical layout of the universe and all the forms and all the everything that will ever be is actually already existent, and the souls, that the forms that need to go into those forms when it's time, it's that time and they go into that form, but there's an existence of those forms. It was just like, what, like me and Adrian were just like almost had to spill our chai. Like it was just like, wait, what? Like what did you? So I can't really. You can ask him if you talk to him, but I never really got to ask him about it. But when he said that, it was like,
Well,
I don't get
this
that.
kind of makes sense because, you know, the physical manifestation is the result of energy, and energy manifestation is the result of mind.
Right.
So that makes sense to me, is that, you know, the potential exists in the mind as as thought.
Right.
And then if that thought is given enough energy, then it manifests in physical form.
Right.
So the way that everything can be annihilated, in other words, illusion to be permanently annihilated, is when the mind is annihilated. So the mind is the culprit of the whole
Because
thing.
that's where in God's hand, that's where he taught. I was trying to go through this simple, formula that he gave, which is like creation comes from the mind, and I was like, wait, what? Like it was hard for me, but when you saying it, it reminds me like, yeah, the mind literally, and once there is no mind, then there is no thing. There's
Yeah, like they say, the world, whatever you see is a projection of your mind. I mean, I can see, all the trees around in a particular color if I have perfect vision the way we define these days. But there may be somebody who's, his mind projects things around probably in a different way. He may not see it the same way I do. So we are projecting everything. I mean, it's just like Karishna said, it's just our mind doing all the projections. I mean, creating it.
yeah.
When you sleep, you go into abeyance. I mean, nothing exists for you. I mean, you wake up, again, you create the world. So in a way, every moment, every second, you are creating a world that your mind is trying to project. But it's surprising though that we all see most of these things around us in the same way. And so that means we share a whole lot of basic sanskaras.
I think quantum physics comes the closest to actually like explaining this in non-spiritual terminology in terms of the wave and the particle and how the particle behaves when it is observed as opposed to when it is not observed. Have you guys read this book called The Dancing Wooleye Masters? Or
No, I haven't heard
the
of it.
Holographic Universe? Those are classics. Those are absolutely classics. It kind of brings quantum mechanics and quantum physics to layman's terminology, and it's very enjoyable read. So if you can get a hold of those two books, they are wonderful.
What is the first one called?
The Dancing Wool-Eyed. I'll put it in the chat.
Dancing Wool-Eyed.
No. Dancing Wool-Eyed Master.
There are a couple by Stephen Hawking, actually. I mean, is that the
then
name? Is it Stephen Hawking? Yeah.
Holographic Universe.
Oh, the Dancing Woo. Is it Wu Li or Wu Lai?
Wool-Eye Masters.
The Dancing Wu Lai Masters, the Holographic Universe.
Oh, I misspelled universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wonder, my last thing, and then I got to go because it's getting pretty hot up here and I'm going to get some water. But my question was, when we leave our present forms, and I know when Baba says, like, where could they go? Like, where, when somebody leaves their physical form, like, where could they go? They're just going to come back in the same form. But what is it that's coming back in the same form? Is it the personality? Is it the quirks and the likes and the dislikes? I like coffee. I like this. I like that. I don't, like shy. But it doesn't seem like that would serve the next form. If, let's say, for Jeff's example, if Hitler was in fact somebody who was just like doing just like, saintly life for like 1,000 lives, and then he just came in as Hitler, you would think that he couldn't have possibly the same kind of personality because, well, he didn't act very saintly as Hitler.
Well, the personality isn't good or bad. It's just a personality trait.
Right.
But what happens is the sanskaras, after the soul leaves the body, it's the impressions that it collected in the lifetime goes with it in the subtle and mental bodies. The only thing that we're releasing is the physical body, and the subtle and mental go to the astral plane where they do the life review in that subtle and mental. They take their suitcase of sanskaras and take them along with them, and then Baba didn't go into a lot of detail explaining what happens in that
Yeah.
after death
Sure.
experience,
Right.
but there's plenty of other literature on that subject. And then when it returns, it has tried to balance those sanskaras that it collected during the life review process.
Right.
And once the balance is almost reached, there's still an excess of, it's like, I don't know how this happens. He says it's all, and maybe Ganesh can find the exact terminology in the discourses as to what happens, but there's usually just a little bit more of a certain particular set of sanskaras, and
yes.
that's what incarnates the soul into the next situation.
So it's not necessarily exact personal traits that may return. Like, let's say this present form of Alan, he likes drinking coffee, but he can't, because if he keeps drinking coffee, he gets very anxious, and he just can't handle it. But then in the next life, does it even matter? Does it just like does that even serve a purpose? I mean, I know the smallest minute details come, but like in the next life, will I come, if I come as a big Viking, 6'7", blonde, blue-eyed Viking man, and like, will I drink a cup of coffee and be like, oh my goodness, like I can't have this. Like, am I gonna still be the same? You know what I mean? Like, does it return in the same way? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I'm thinking maybe some of those characteristics will come along, but kind of fade more, over time, and just become more balanced. Like people, I mean, looking at Mandali to be our role models, they had certainly certain characteristics, but
Sure.
it wasn't so solid. It was like, there was
Right.
some fluidity in it. They weren't like a bad person or a good person. They kind of played roles in a way, without being so attached to that particular trait. So I don't know. What do I know? Ask Jeff.
No, I mean, that's really helpful though. That's really helpful for us to.
Yeah.
No.
Do you remember the story that Jeff mentioned, Alan, regarding some lady who happened to visit Baba in 1952 or 56, and she is African American, Bernice Ivory or I mean, some
Yeah.
name like that.
Burley Williams.
Yeah, Bernie Williams, and she obviously had some things that she wanted to have answered, and then she goes to Baba and says, "Why am I like the way I am in the circumstances I am?" Then Baba said, "Then you." I'm sure you remember what Jeff said, but Baba, I think, indicated that you were not very kind to blacks in your previous life, and that's the reason why now you have to be born as African American. Yeah. So there is this play of opposites. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we should not, I think in my mind, you should not have anything strong in your mind. I really love this. I really hate this. And both are going to impact you in your next life. So just play with things and then let them go and then keep it going.
Yeah, tread lightly.
Yeah,
I think Baba had
that makes a lot of sense.
Explained that what you hate, you actually attract that, and that's what you hate.
You attract it not necessarily in this life, but definitely in the next life. Yeah, I don't know if it happens, but definitely.
Because it has to balance out, and you have to feel it, and you have to be one with it, and then you are in tune and harmony with it. So all that to happen, certain times it takes lifetimes.
Right.
Well, I hope that doesn't include like major fears. Like if you're really afraid of something, like
I heard like fear attracts that experience. So that's what I heard somewhere once in iVideos, an explanation was saying that fear would actually attract that experience. That's what she said.
Wow.
So if you have some fear, because that fear has to go off, and that experience will this thing, and we can't think like.
Well, it's kind of like sanskaras, right? If you have had a fearful experience, conscious or unconscious, then that experience, that sanskara wants to be expressed.
Yeah.
So it makes logical sense. And that's why Baba says, you know, try to not put those thoughts into action, you know, just try to give it to Baba. There you go. The reservoir of our garbage.
I think, I
one
think
word, yeah, sorry, just to probably
that's a big, sorry, Ganesh, go ahead.
no, please go ahead. I'll complete later.
No,
Yes.
I always keep thinking about giving it to Baba. To me, it's a huge subject. I mean, we have talked about this several times, but I often wonder what it really entails. I mean, what it means. I mean, it can be different things to different people. So I'm just wondering. Yeah.
I tell you what, one lady in Myrtle Beach, she's elderly. She's now very old in a nursing home, but she wrote this book about the very topic, that very topic. And her methodology was to sit with the thing that you want to give it to Baba, to sit with it, whether it's a habit or whatever, you know, just anything you want to get rid of, and sit with that and continuously, literally just offer it to Baba from within yourself, you know, kind of. She even had like a particular body motion. She would like really give it, you know, like this swinging motion, give it, give it, give it, and continuously check the feeling in her body to see if that feeling is still there. And she would not quit until she would no longer have that energy. You know, let's say it was a dislike of a person or something, you know, whatever. And she would just continuously, just energetically give it. And I think Jeff is saying something similar.
Yeah.
About this current, or, you know, whatever, this invisible way of giving.
So you're saying, if I say, I mean, this is what I think Jeff also said, is to bring it into your awareness. I mean, that feeling, even though it is past, you may not have any more touch with this particular person you were not happy with at some point of time, but the thing still remains in your head.
Yeah.
So now that you are deprived of the, you know, access to this gentleman, so that you can, whatever, basically you just sit with that thought that I have this problem with this person, keep working on it, and then just get it out, I suppose, right? I mean, is that what it is?
Yes.
Actually, like what?
You know, give it over to, you know, Jeff says give it to love or go to love, and I'm, you know, to me it's easier to just give it to Baba, because he's a, you know, he has come down in human form so that we can get these esoteric subjects of love and God and all these in a human form. You know, we're human. He came down to our level so that we could hand him over our, you know, instead of going to the shrink who has worse problems than I do, you know, giving it to the source, to the source of God, who knows all, does all, you know, understands our sanskaras better than any psychotherapist could possibly diagnose us with. And giving it to Baba, I think, is a real incredible remedy. And you know, if you become proficient at it, he can take it away like instantaneously. I don't necessarily buy into the, you know, the layers and layers and layers and layers, and the next plate comes, you give one plate, the next one is just like it. You know, I mean, that should not have to apply to everyone. It can't, you know, maybe if your power of concentration and your surrender and your love is so deep that you can just hand it over in one felt swoop and be free from it.
Baba's
You know,
grace.
that has happened to people. They are born again, you know, they're like renewed, they give up an addiction or whatever, and it can happen. So
but you have to become aware of this first.
Yes.
Because if you're not aware, then how are you going to give to Bob? You know,
that's true, Lenina. Very good point. Very good point.
The first big step, you know, of anything, because a lot of us, we're not even aware of this stuff, you know, that's going on.
That's the.
We act like, you know, in our egos, you know,
Yes,
And,
the
Funny thing
unconscious,
about
Baba
this
said,
book.
you know, it's like the
and
tip
a
of
lot of
the
times,
iceberg.
a lot of times the shrink can help you to become aware of your bad habits of thinking or behavior, you know, or something that you want to get rid of, you know. Sometimes when you talk to somebody, for
Yeah.
me it was like that. When I did therapy in the past, you know, when I was talking, a lot of things become clear for me in my process of talking, you know,
Mhm.
of making sense of things. So the other person can become a, you know, an outlet for you to process all this thing, and then you can do whatever you want, you know. Then you give to Baba, or give to him, or give it to love. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
So, when you're mentioning about this book, which is that book name? What's that? You said this lady has written this book of giving to Baba, so I just wanted to know which is that book.
Yeah, her name is Betty Grant.
Okay.
And the name of the book, and she doesn't want it sold, or at least she didn't while she was giving it away herself. But now
I have this book. I never read.
Called Surrendered. Is it called Surrender?
Something like that. I can't remember. I have this. I think she
Betty
gave
Grant.
to me.
It's a little bit difficult to read because it's very repetitive, but the essence of her methodology, I think, is pretty potent.
Yeah, I never read. Somebody gave to me. I don't know if she gave to me or somebody else. I have in the house somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Well, can I read something real fast before I go?
Sure.
Me too.
Yes, Mr.
Unless you have something, Ganesh, you were going to share something?
No, you please go. Want to hear what you are going to read.
Okay.
Yes.
So Baba said, apparently to a group of people here, he said, "What I want is your love and obedience 100%. I want one who does his best. In the time of Jesus, I said the same thing, leave all and follow me. And the same in the time of Krishna and Zoroaster. I do not mean you have to leave all your responsibilities, but that my will becomes yours. My will should be your pleasure. God is infinite honesty. To love God, you must be honest. Who will try to obey me 100%? In the spiritual path, there is no room for compromise. Raise your hands who cannot obey me." And now he looked around and none raised a hand. "Now raise your hands, all who will try to obey me." Everyone raised his or her hand. "It is impossible to obey me 100%, Baba continued, "unless you have 100% love for me and accept me 100% as God incarnate. So it is for you who have raised your hands to do my will." And then after this gathering, Baba went to the lagoon cabin and saw various groups in the afternoon, and most of the day was devoted by Baba to private interviews with groups and individuals. And basically, the rest is in this book, page 527.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a nice book you could just kind of flip through and it just kind of, your eyes kind of catch on to some things. You're like, what is that? And then, oh, okay. Why is there like 300% on this page? It is impossible to obey me 100%, but try to obey me. And I know he said something about leave your suffering and your love to me or something, right? Isn't that part of it?
Yes.
That's a tough one for me.
For me, I feel like, you know, to obey Baba is to surrender, you know, to surrender to every moment. You accept your moment like you have chosen. You know, I chose this. So you accept. You just honor every moment, everything that happened to you, you know. So for me, that's the surrender is like obeying Baba, you know.
Yeah, acceptance. I mean, just
Whatever.
slow down.
Exactly. You accept what it is, you know. I know it's easy said than done, but but that's the path. That's the path of the awakening, the spiritual awakening. It's not easy.
Yeah.
That's why we have so many lifetimes to work on. Many lifetimes to working on it. Because
That's for sure.
It's hard. It's very hard. It's a lot of work.
All right,
Inner
guys,
work,
it's time for me to.
Ditto.
And just
Thank
one
you.
thing on that, and as we are working on it, it's not that we are going anywhere or we are getting any experiences. We are still where we are. So there's no external or any change that we can maybe some internal changes we can feel ourselves, but it's not that we go into a certain place or anything. It's just working on ourselves.
Yeah. The inner work, constant inner work.
And that, now I'm something. I still 10 years back I was working on certain things. Now today I'm working on other things. Yeah.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone. Good night.
Jai Baba.
Good
Jai
night.
Baba.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, hi, Nasrin.
شب بخیر نسرین خانم. Jai Baba.
Merci. A lot of information from you. Thank you, Farishta Jan.
Oh, it's Baba, and Jeff provides such a good forum for all of us to share. Jai Baba. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next one is when? So I think it's Monday. I think tomorrow is your Sunday. So maybe we meet Monday morning, I guess.
Yes.
Maybe Monday.
Monday, your evening. That's
Effort
Tuesday
and grace. Effort and grace can be pretty interesting too. So join in if you can. Jai Meher Baba.
Good night. Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba.
Baba ki jai.
TJ.
Bye.
Bye bye.
How do I